I'm Steffen Kabbelgaard Grønning, and I'm the co-founder of BetaDwarf Entertainment, and this is my tutorial on starting an ambitious studio. So first of all, BetaDwarf has been in the game industry for 2.5 years, and we are located in Copenhagen, and currently we are 12 people. And we're smiling a lot, and it's all great. And we've basically spent all our time on this game, Forest. And let's briefly have a look at what that is. It's a tactical arena co-op game, and it's totally focused on cooperational mechanics. And the mostly cool feature of it is this little shared ball here, which is basically a shared avatar that every player can control simultaneously, like a reversed football. And then it's really focused on co-op mechanics and played with controllers and mouse and keyboard and online and so on. But it's not really done yet. So let's skip on, because this talk is not about Forest, it's more like how do you start a studio. And this is the roadmap to do it, so it's step-by-step guide that everyone can follow easily. So first thing you do is basically to understand your premises. And we started out during university. After our bachelor degree, we were two founders who agreed that we really wanted to be any part of the game industry, and we wanted to start our own studio. And then we realized that we kind of sucked making games, and we were not really veterans, and we had no track record, and we didn't really know how to form a studio, but we wanted like a big studio from the start, which might have been too ambitious. And then we had no money, and we didn't know how to do anything. So the next step was to consider what we actually had, and we had a few things, which was, for instance, that we were part of a university, so we had our own group rooms, and in theory we could start a studio in those, because then we could sit together and work instead of being separated in different homes. And we also had education time if we started skipping all the courses, which we then agreed to do, and then basically we didn't really attend school anymore, we just were there and used their studio locales until they basically discovered it. But then that gave us more than a year at least. And then we had made like one project that we sort of showcased to other students to make them interested in working with us. So that was just like a school project, and it still kind of told people that we had some talent. So next step was then to understand what our plan was. So we had to make a vision, and I basically just took 2 months or so to make the concept for a game, and then we made a goal for our team and an overall approach to how that should work. And then of course it didn't work out that way, but that was our plan. So we established a vision, a goal, and an approach. And basically our vision was to become the best developers in Denmark within 5 years. And now we have like 2 years left, so we are kind of in a hurry, but still we wanted to be like ambitious, and we told people about that. And then we hosted a presentation day, and the way we did that, let me skip through, was that most of us were teachers, were student teachers at the university, so we kind of had the idea of who were the bright ones at the different lectures. And then the bright people at math and art and so on, we gave them like small secret flyers, almost like a fight club. And then we told them to come to this secret day, a presentation day of some cool project. And then 9 people actually showed up, of those cool guys, and 1 girl. And then we showed them the concepts and the plan and the overall goal of what we actually wanted to do. And after like 2.5 hours of me talking and giving out some free chips and so on, they actually decided that they want to be part of the team. And one of our rules was that they basically couldn't attend school anymore. So that was also like a rebel group on the university, even though we used their locales. So now we had our vision. And one extra peak that we sort of told the students was that there's a lot of game students coming out, and there's not a lot of job openings. And in my opinion, that's the same as game developers are equal to football clubs, because there's not a lot of football clubs that actually earn money. And to become part of the best players and earn money, you have to be like the best players. So that was also like our hook. We wanted to become that as fast as possible together. So our strategy was to race for the flow. And this is our 2-year period. And the first year we basically spent on reaching the point of flow where we actually were able to implement stuff in like fairly fast, instead of taking 1 month to rotate a character or something like that, because we really sucked in the start. So being part of BetaDwarf meant all in. So the next step was to like collect an even bigger team and of the brightest people. So we started by forming an identity. We made like a website with some of the stuff that we have done, and we took it really serious and had a lot of descriptions of how you could be part of BetaDwarf in Denmark, what the requirements were, and how you had to be like full in, even though you didn't really get any money. And then we made t-shirts and a banner, and that way people really got an idea of being part of a team. They had the t-shirts, they had the business cards, they had the banner at our group room, so it felt like a real studio, and they could go around to their friends and even their mom and say, this is what I'm part of, and then look up the site, which looked fine at that time. And then we had more incentives for them. For example, that we wanted to make an ambitious game, and we had an alternative to their basement, because it's nice to like have a place to go where you have someone to spare with and so on. And then it was like a bit like studio experience, because there was more people of each development role. There were several programmers, several artists, and so on. So in that way, you were not alone. You could cope with people on different problems. And then we went to conventions, which can also be hard if you're one guy starting up or one girl. And then for the really bright people, we made contracts and offered them small percentages of the revenue that people could get from the potential sales of the game. And finally, we said in those contracts that you are simply so cool that we cannot sort of spare you in the future, so you will be part of the team if you want to. That's what the contract said. And if you have the money, offer free coffee. It's basically just how can you sell the idea of people being part of your team. And then you really have to take it serious, because otherwise they won't. 28 people has been part of BetaDwarf these 2.5 years, and only 11 are left. So that basically we had to get rid of Hangouts. So people that sort of came in, worked really progressively for 2 months or so on, and then started like slacking or played too much PlayStation in the corner, had a tendency of pulling the others away. And the really ambitious people who were part of the team didn't really want to be there if everybody just wandered around and wasn't ambitious enough. So you have to sort of face that, and you have to face the idea of going from friends to pros, because it has to be like more professional if you have to earn some money. And then we went to actually doing some development. We did that obviously a little before, but we wanted to find like a thing that we could submit for. And we did that. So we had our first goal, which was in 2 months after the whole team was gathered, which was, at that point we were 11 people as well. And oh yeah, and I would really recommend putting down this URL, because it sort of describes all the different opportunities you have to submit talks, to attend different conferences and things like that. So it's really helpful, and it's what I use all the time. So we found a thing, and we did this first prototype of our game, of Forest, and we were proud, but we had no reason to be, because it really, really sucked, and it was not nominated for anything, even though it was a small indie competition. And then we sort of realized that we were not doing good enough. We basically had to do better. And then I sat down with my co-founder, and we wanted to make a plan for how we could actually do that, which was hard, but our plan was to work harder and codify the environment. So at some point we realized that at our university during summers, there's basically no one there. So why wouldn't we just move in? Because no one will discover whether we were there or not. So we bought sofas, fridges, and everything we could get, and then we basically moved into a classroom at the university, and no one saw us for more than 2 months. And of course it got really nasty, because we couldn't really, the only thing we thought about was making the game and not really cleaning. And at some point, finally, we moved in. Whoa, sorry. We were 8 guys living there for a long period, and that was really crazy. We had to like set the alarm for 1 o'clock in the night to have coordinated sleeping hours, otherwise we would fuck each other's rhythm of day up, and so we had to really sleep at the same time, because we had that many people in the same locale. And after some time, people actually started skipping their apartments back home, because they didn't really want to spend money on that, because they was here all the time anyways. So that was a wild period, and maybe you can imagine just being on a big university all alone. It was like thousands of locales, and no one was there, so we just had these buildings for ourselves and the whole summer, and we really had a lot of development done in that period, and we spent a lot of time on basically working our asses off, but it was fun, and we played football on the hallways, and and like screamed, and at some point we were distracted by cleaning ladies that suddenly come in like every 2 weeks or something without knocking, and they obviously also screamed us, and then it was really awkward because we were like 8 boys during the night in boxer shorts and so on. So that slightly worked, but then there's always obstacles, and now we've been doing this for 1.5 years, and then our real first obstacle arose, and that was after the vacation, or the summer vacation, the university started, obviously, and we weren't discovered. So we actually were able to be there 6 months more. So basically we were there for 8 months. And then at some point, there was a guy who discovered us. I don't really know why. Maybe it was because we went to some of the lectures in a t-shirt while it was snowing outside, or with a toothbrush in our mouth, I don't really know. But they discovered us, and they told us that we had to get out immediately. And that was kind of a big problem, because some of us didn't have an apartment back home, and we really want to keep the studio, so it would ruin us if we couldn't find another solution. So in the meantime, we had applied for basically everything we could, and luckily, like 14 days before that, we were going through a small application thing where we luckily succeeded in getting $40,000, and that was enough if 8 of us also skipped our apartment and moved together into this big house in Karlslunde. So 8 of us, skipped our apartments, lived together there, and we spent the $40,000 on some more gear and toilet paper and things like that there. So that was like a nerd empire. That's my co-founder walking up the stairs in the house, and you can see this was how he sort of woke us up every morning. He just went there, and he was responsible for waking up the team. So he turned on the radio and just good morning everyone. And I think I'm coming out with my toothbrush now. Yeah. So that was that was the uppermost floor, and we lived 7 there, and then our art director, which was a girl, lived in the sauna. I think there's a little video of that as well. It was basically like a small dream sweatshop, so it was really rough. We stayed there for a year, but it was so much fun, and we had like this house all for ourselves, and we could do whatever we want. That's where our art director slept. She sort of installed herself in our sauna and ripped out the heating element. So that was cool, and we had 3 floors, so it was 1 office floor for all the designers and artists, and then we had a cellar for all the programmers. And then we had our beds up here, and that was like 3 rooms, and I slept with 2 roomies, and this was one of the rooms where there was like 2 guys sleeping. So then one of the last steps is that you should do a ton of networking. I have spent a lot of time on pitching and being on scene, and then people sort of know who you are, and it's easier to sort of talk with them afterwards. And usually in the industry, as you might know, people are really helpful. So if they know who you are and they know how they can help, they want to talk to you, and that's really a good thing. And it also helps you, for example, to the upper right, to understand what the opportunities are. So really fast last year, we discovered that there was this Kickstarter opportunity, and we sort of focused on that while we were in this house. And the house was also like a really good premises on Kickstarter, a good story to sort of tell who we are and our approach to making games and so on. So that was cool, and we succeeded like December 2011, last year. 2012, that is, And then you have to deal with the unplannable. Maybe some of you that Steam Greenlight is a real bitch. It's really hard to get in there, and these are basically our most interesting options, even though XBLA is getting really fatigued and not that lucrative, but it's still like maybe Steam will take you more serious if you get in there, and those are what the guys that we are in dialogue with now, but we don't really know when they want to release us, so you have to sort of budget for that and be prepared for a long-term relationship with those guys or girls. And the last step is then to sort of enjoy it. And because it may feel a real rough when you sort of spend all your time in a house together with a lot of guys and 1 girl. That sounds wrong, but it gets rough, so you have to sort of enjoy the small things. And for example, last week we won the award of being the best development company in Denmark, so that was really cool. And we have enjoyed we moved to a bigger or a cooler office in Copenhagen 4 months ago, and that's really nice. And we made the Kickstarter, even though it's not a lot of money, it's still a big community of 2,000 people and $65,000, which is not a lot of money for people, but you can buy a ton of toilet paper with that, which was one of the pillars in our burn rate. And then enjoy that you set out for this journey to be featured in different medias and so on. So really enjoy when your game is suddenly shown there and people started coming in and noticing and liking it on Facebook and so on. So that's also a good progression towards the potential sales that you would get one day. Yeah, so that was basically it. Thanks for listening.